everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Play On podcast. This is a hurling edition in which we will talk about both of the hurling qualifiers, which took place over the weekend between Waterford and Galway in one game and Clare and Cork in the other. Two results that myself wouldn't have predicted. I thought that, Galway would bounce back, and I thought that Clare, would have been the form team going into the Cork game. We'll start with the Waterford versus Galway game. Waterford winning by 1 goal and 30 points to Galway's 3 goals and 20. Definitely a result that neither of us saw coming. Does your expectation for Waterford's season go up now, or are you just disappointed in Galway's season in total, really?
I think it was very impressive by Waterford. I thought a lot of people kind of questioned them, especially last week after when they only kind of narrowly beat Laois and didn't look too assured at all, really. And then I suppose you go what we got in the first half of the weekend when they scored 118 in the first half. That it was an absolute complete performance, really. So I know that Galway got back into it towards the end, and it was a ridiculous finish, really, with Jason Flynn scoring 2 goals in additional time. But I thought, it was a good performance by Waterford. And I tell you what, I think they'll be quietly confident going in against Tip. There's an awful lot of running on this side. There's so much pace around that middle, and that's kind of an area that Tip are kind of lacking. Tip are they're a good side, but they're definitely lacking in pace. So I think Waterford will fancy their chances of turning Tip over.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that Tipperary, had such a humiliating loss, if you like, in the Munster final against Limerick, they're on the wrong end of one of the best performances that I've ever seen. And now they'll fancy their chances in that game. Galway, on the other hand, it was a massive day for Joe Canning. He becomes the all-time top scorer in Championship hurling. Caps off, before his career is even done. For Galway, there were big losses. The likes of Aina Murphy in goal, obviously he had COVID, so he couldn't play the game. And a loss like that will hurt them. But, if you're talking about losses, Waterford trumped that, in my opinion, with Tadhg de Burca gone. Interesting enough, Shane Bennett started at, number 6. How do you think he did there?
Yeah, it was a really interesting, because when you saw the lineup kind of named, a halfback line of Caleb Lyons, Shane Bennett and Kieran Bennett, it's a ridiculously attacking halfback line. But I thought Shane Bennett played quite well there. He's kind of his first touch is exceptional, and he scored the first point of the game, and it was really a ridiculous score, really, where he took it past with 3 or 4 lads and straight over the bar. And he kind of raised a few eyebrows when he played there the last day against Laois. So I think he did quite well there. It remains to be seen how he'd get on, though, against maybe a Tip side who are probably going to plop Jason Ford in on top of him. So that's the thing, is that he did well the weekend, and especially the 2 other lads beside him, Caleb Lyons and Kieran Bennett, were both flying too. So I thought it's an interesting one. And another kind of interesting one as well, I thought, was Peter Hogan in midfield. He played with Jamie Barron there, and the midfield for Waterford were absolutely exceptional. The amount of running from them. So I think Liam Carroll's just been trying to set the team up to kind of get his kind of runners coming from deep and everything like that. So that's kind of the way he set up the team. And for the first half anyway, it looked absolutely unstoppable in particular.
This is, an absolute disaster of a championship for Galway. To go out to lose to Dublin and Leinster, and then, with all due respect to how good Waterford are, they're losing to a team that, not many people will see as credible All-Ireland contenders, whereas a lot of people at the start of the championship would have definitely seen Galway as credible All-Ireland contenders. So where do you think it's all gone so wrong?
Yeah, look, it's a funny one, because the league was they were absolutely flying in the league, and then I don't know. I suppose you look kind of at some of the. I think there's a bit of frustration kind of within the camp on kind of a bit of team selection and players being played out of the position. Like you look at Adrian Toohey, he was an all-star cornerback and hasn't played a minute there since he won his all-star. So it's and some of the selections, like he's been coming on the forward line out of nowhere. Sean Lennon was named corner forward, having not played any championship hurling at all so far this year, and then so he was placed in there. And then you look around kind of, and David Burke was an unused sub on the bench as well. So look, I know after the Dublin game, there was talk that in the camp that a few of the senior figures in the dressing room were unhappy with how with the positions the fellas been playing, and they didn't think that they were in the best setup to win games. So I don't know, maybe there's a bit of kind of bit of a falling out in the camp, and I don't know, it remains to be seen kind of where they go from here next year, and maybe perhaps might be looking at a new management team.
It's clear that there's something not right, because you can't have a squad that talented and, perform that poorly. I do think he'll get one more year. I think it would be a bit rash to just get rid of him. He does have good pedigree. He won a couple of club championships with Napiershig. And then for him to come in, obviously with the pandemic and everything, it is more difficult to implement what you want to do. And it does usually take a couple of years. So I think they'll give him another year. But I think Galway have to deliver at least an All-Ireland semi-final and a solid performance for Shane O'Neill to keep his job. I think they have to win either the Leinster title or the All-Ireland title next year, or he's out of a job, in my opinion, and rightfully so, because with the absolute talent and depth that Galway have, this is their golden period to win a couple of All-Irelands, because they still have Joe Canning, who's still, taught as good as he's ever been. They've got Conor Whelan, they've got the likes of Evan Niland then coming through as well. In 5 years' time, the likes of Daithí Burke, the likes of Garrod McInerney, the likes of, Joe Canning might not be around anymore. So, they've really got to make this period count, and maybe getting rid of O'Neill might be the right thing to do to make this period count.
Yeah, well, look, I think there's an awful lot of frustration as well, that you look kind of at that period, that sustained period of time when the Galway Miners were dominating the Hurling Championship, I suppose, and nobody really from that team has essentially come through. Just kind of Morrissey and corner back there at the weekend, I suppose. And yeah, look, I think there's a bit of frustration. Like, Evan Niland hasn't played half as much as what people feel like he should have. Really, he had an outrageous league campaign, and he's been kind of just coming on late in games really so far this year. So it's a puzzling one, really. But he certainly looked like he had the quality to be starting. So I think these kind of things are leading into a bit of frustration in Galway about kind of the team, and that perhaps they're not putting their best 15 out there to which will be giving them the best chance of winning games. Especially considering you look at the likes of Jason Flynn coming on and doing causing such havoc in the short time that he was on.
Yeah, definitely. And as for Waterford now, of course, as we've mentioned, they've gone on to play Tipperary. Do you give them a good chance of winning this game now?
Yeah, I think they'll win it. I think they I just think the way they play is going to cause Tip an awful lot of problems. I think that I just think that their running style, really, that they could really expose Tip, unless Tip kind of go all out with their kind of alternatives where they fill their midfield with the likes of Breen, Cadell, Dan McCormick. But otherwise, I think that if Tip go out with kind of some of the older lads kind of out around the middle, that they could really struggle. If Waterford find a way to kind of isolate Desi Hutchinson in there and Paddy Maher, I think that there could be they could definitely cause all sorts of bother. So yeah, I do think the Waterford are actually going to cause a bit of an upset and win this.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I think Waterford are coming into this on, the back of a couple of wins and a fantastic performance against Galway, whereas, Tipperary are coming in hurt. So that is our review of the Waterford versus Galway game. Don't forget to catch all our reviews of the weekend's action.